Hello once again, and thank you so much for joining me as we decorate this 4-piece Halloween character cookie set. First off is this adorable pumpkin. I've sectioned him off into 3 sections using outline consistency icing. You can do more sections if you prefer, or you could do no sections, just make it all one. I like the look of the 3 sections. So I've started off by filling in the outer 2 sections. Once I have scribed these to look flat and even, I am going to add some PME pearls that are the eyeballs. They're great because they don't bleed. Then typically you would allow those 2 sections to dry before adding this middle center section. However, I'm wanting to get it all done as quickly as possible. So I'm adding another outline next to my outline to help keep these areas separated. And then going ahead and flooding in next to the wet flood on either side of this pumpkin cookie. As long as you do it carefully, you will maintain the separate sections within your cookie without having to let them dry between. I'm using outline consistency brown icing to create a cute little squiggly stem. Then after the cookie dried, I used a black food marker to create eyebrows and a smiley face. Next up is our cute little girl ghost cookie with a bow. I'm outlining using outline consistency white icing. Now I'm filling in with flood icing. I'm carefully pulling the icing to the edges of the cookie, especially where I wanted the separation between the arm and the body. Now I'm using flood icing to create little cheeks, and as you see, I kind of put the right cheek a little bit too low, so I just go ahead and dig that out, add a little bit more white flood, and then immediately add another pink drop of flood icing. Again, I didn't wait for my ghost to dry at all, so I'm drawing an outline right next to the white with my lavender color here, just outline consistency icing, and then I'm filling in with flood consistency icing. The little squiggles help prevent craters of this flood icing as it dries. I'm going to allow that to crust over before moving on to the next steps. So as you see, my icing is crusted over, but I want the bow to be a little bit more fancy, so I'm adding some additional bow details here, just to give it a little bit more depth and definition. And filling in this top section of the bow, I'm actually using outline icing just to help prevent craters. I'm having to work it with the scribe quite a bit since it's thicker. Adding a little bit more orange icing here since I made the bow a little bit bigger, and then taking my black food pen and creating eyes and a mouth. I also decided to go ahead and outline the entire cookie with the black because I thought it made it stand out and look better. It's best to wait until the cookie has been dried about 3 or 4 hours before writing on it with a food pen. Otherwise you risk the pen digging a hole into your icing that's not quite all the way dry. And what do you think about that black outline? I think she's adorable. Next up is a Frankenstein cookie. I thought he was probably the cutest in the entire set. They're all adorable, but I really fell in love with him. I am Outlining his face and hair with gray. His hair will be black, but it will cover up the gray outline, and just to save a step, I just did it all in gray. The bolts are purple, so I went ahead and outlined those in purple. Filling in my face with some flood icing. Being careful with those notches up top to not lose the shape of the triangles. And now I'm just taking my scribe to make those notches even more pronounced at the top. Again, I'm adding PME pearls as eyes. And once you've placed those, you can move them around with your scribe to get them even. Not really liking where that one is, and I think it was actually a little bit smaller than the other one, which is why I took it out. So I went ahead and dug it out, and then I found one that matched closer to the other eye size. Filling in the little bolts with the lavender purple color here, and then I'll move on to the hair. So I'm just filling in this top section for the hair, making sure to cover the gray outline on top. And again, carefully going through these triangular notches because I want to keep that shape for the hair. Then I will take my scribe, even everything out, and kind of pull down gently on those little triangles to give them more of a defined triangular pointy shape that looks more realistic like hair. Now that my cookie's dry, I'm back with my food pen, creating little details on the face, as well as these little bolts. Then to add a little bit more definition to this hairline, I decided to go ahead and outline between the hair and the face. And then also did some straight lines to create the effect of some hair on top of his head as well. I think he is absolutely precious. Now on to our final cookie of this 4-piece set, the little witch girl. She is equally as cute as Frankenstein. Kind of the same technique. I made the little notches with the gray icing, being very careful to keep that triangular shape in there. Pulling that icing down gently to keep that shape. And then I'm going to add my black PME eyeballs and push them in a little bit with my scribe just so that they stay in there. Pink flood for some cheeks. And now just outlining the bottom of this hat and her hairline. I've decided to go ahead and move on with all the decorating steps on this cookie without waiting for her face to crust over or dry. So I'm outlining right alongside the already flooded part of her face so that my hair doesn't blend directly into her face. That's going to help maintain that degree of separation between her hair and her face. Again, I just used gray outline for her hair because the black flat icing is going to hide that gray outline for us. It just saves an extra step. I'm very carefully flooding in these little triangular hair-shaped areas to maintain the shape, and then I will use my scribe to pull all those little triangles down to make them look a little bit more pointy. Now we've moved on to the hat. I'm going to go ahead and outline everything here. On the inside of the top part of the hat, I'm going to actually do a double outline because I want to maintain the shape of the bend of the hat. And then I'm also double outlining between the brim of the hat and the body of the hat because I'm not going to wait for the sections to dry before flooding the top and the bottom. You want to be very careful not to flood right up to the defining lines of the bend of the hat. You flood close to them and then use your scribe to pull the icing towards those bends. That way you maintain the line within your icing. It also helps if you have a little bit thicker flood when you're doing this sort of technique. Now for the brim of the hat, I'm using little squiggly lines because it's a smaller, skinnier area and more likely to crater if I don't add the little lines. And I'm just flooding right over the outline of this hat directly next to her hair. As you can see, I didn't flood directly next to the line between the brim and the body of the hat, so I'm just pulling the icing down towards that line, again, to keep separation between the two parts of the hat. Here I'm using some outline consistency pink icing to add a cute little floral accent to her hat. I'm just squeezing, making a dot and then pulling the icing down to create the flower shape. And then I'll use an orange to fill in a little circle. And keeping with that Halloween color theme. Filling in the bottom part of this hat here, just real thin with icing because I want it to look a little bit lower than the top part. Then once that dried, I used my black pen again to make a mouth and some cute little eyebrows and eyelashes for her. And then the last detail I did for this cookie was I decided that the hat was a little too plain looking, even though I do have defined lines from my icing. I went ahead and used black outline icing in the areas that I thought would make it stand out and look better, just to give it a little bit more pizzazz and definition. Similar to what I did with the boy, I outlined between her hairline and her face. And those bending lines within her hat. And voila, she is all done. I think she's absolutely adorable. Thank you again for following along. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and if you have any questions, please let me know, or any requests, I'd like to hear those as well.